The Havenbell Trilogy 2, The Scepter of Zane, Chapter 6, The Mountains of Shadow. Jin and Kai had been watching the mountains grow closer ever since they came into view on the horizon. Everyone was quiet. Seth and his Adrella army went before the ship and gave them the signal that the coast was clear. They landed and separated the army into 4 groups. Gon, search the left caverns with your troops. Jin, you and I will go to the right. The feathers are flying over the mountain's surface. Meet us back here on the shore after your search is complete. Gon led the first group. They entered the first cave carrying torches. It was dark, rank, and musty. They searched every inch of the first catacombs and found nothing. Think of all the people that were held as slaves here. I know, at least it turned out okay. Until now. Jin and his troops entered the old dwelling of the Dark Ones. They were about to secure the area when they came upon a door. Kai kicked it with his foot, and a huge wall of heat pushed them backwards. Heat slapped their faces, and flames exploded at them. Jin ducked, but his clothes started to burn. He screamed to Kai and Ayumi, son of Bunky, who swiftly came to him and helped put his clothes out. They ran together with flames catching up to them. Several of their army were dying around them as they ran out of the cavern. Kai could hear shouting from outside of the cave. After the fall of the Dark Ones, the caverns had been burned. All that remained were metal bars of the cells. Gon and his clan crept closer through a long, narrow passage, holding torches. They could only see 7 feet ahead of them. They came into the main chamber of the cells. It was pitch black. All of the windows, skylights, and other passages had been sealed. Gon crept slowly in the darkness with his torch and sword out in front of him. There was a thump and then a nuff sound as he disappeared. His torch went rolling on the floor. Out of the shadows slowly crept a dark army. They held Gon with 4 men and held a sword to his throat. Master, he's one of us. What are you doing here with the Outlanders? Bringing them to you. Well done. Traitor! An elf yelped at him. A centaur started shooting arrows at the Ortsons that were blocking the entrance. The arrows clanked off of them like rain on a tin roof. Their army shouted and plunged in to attack the Ortsons. Half of them died in a short period of time, for these were strong and heavily armored warriors. Where are the fairies? There are no fairies here, Gon lied. He was part of the wizards and had much more brain push than this guy. He was a traitor to his council of wizards, yes, but he had his reasons he wanted to be with his race before King Duran became king of all. Maybe he wasn't a complete traitor after all. Do you know where they are? No, I do not. I've never seen one. Then in a flash, the interrogator chopped off Gon's head. It rolled and then landed against the dead body of an elf. I need one of you to call to your master. No one answered or moved. I'll go, an elven man volunteered. Good, this way. He led the lone elf back down the corridor towards the entrance of the caves. He held one of his arms behind his back and held a knife between his shoulder blades. Now call to your master, he whispered. Master Kai! Master Kai! Please come! He yelled. It's a trap! He screamed, but the Ortson grunted in anger and killed him. Prepare! He ordered the army and they took their positions and extinguished their fire. Gon's army must have been ambushed. I'd advise that we think about this before we rush in there to the same fate. Jin joined with Kai and helped rush out the others. The air was getting thick. The only chance they had on winning this fight was to be able to lure them to the shore. But as they neared the entrance, they were met by the other Ortson army, and they began to clash and fight. Surrender! Kai's army was falling fast from the fire behind them. We must save our lives. Their weapons were given up, and finally the wall of fire stopped. They were herded towards the cages. The cells were filled and locked behind them. The leader of the Ortsons bellowed a deep laugh. The Ortson opened some of the blocked holes in the ceiling. One of them spoke some foreign words, and a huge rush of wind came through the tunnels and cleared the smoke. Kai observed the locks, but wasn't sure if he could escape these. Wonderful, Jin muttered. We will release you if you give us the fairies. If none of your friends outside have any, we shall wait for your bigger friends. They will come. Kai looked around for the fairy, but she was missing. She may not have made it out of the fire. The Josepharians rejoined each other and flew back to the ship. Do you see the smoke? Aye. Any come out? A few. We have trouble in there, and unless we can draw the enemy out to shore, we may not have much of a chance. Are there any other passages into the mountains? There are 2 on each side, but they've been filled with heavy stone. There's a door behind the mountains, but it's locked. We need a key. We have wizards. It may take a few of them. So if there's only one passage, they cannot escape. What can we do? We wait. When all was still and quiet, the fairy unburied herself and escaped out of the mountains and flew to the ship. They're trapped by Ortsons. They are heavily armored. We lost a lot of us to that fire. They are going to lure the other wizards here. We will not be able to defeat them ourselves. Maybe we can attack them if we maintain control of the exits. This is the only one. The others are blocked and one needs a key. I have no key. She flew overboard to talk to the Adrella. A group of Ortsons had been assigned to leave the cave and speak to the creatures on the ship. When they came out together, those aboard the ship were notified. A group of feathers flew to meet them. We will release your friends if you surrender your fairies. The Adrella came out and began throwing blades at them. Then the Josepharians began shooting arrows and throwing air fans until the last man had fallen. My thoughts exactly. Do you think they will surrender for us? I don't know. It's more important that Duran is stopped than to send the wizards here to save us. There was a pool accessible to the sea inside of the mountains. Out of it began a bright pink glow. It captured the Ortsons' attention, and they went to investigate. They were hypnotized, and they could see a fairy underneath the water. Is this trickery? Go get it out. One crawled to his belly, and the other grabbed his feet. With one big breath, the first one went under. As he grabbed for the glowing orb, it moved beyond his reach. Then he and the one behind him were both pushed in from behind. The leader turned to see a man in shadow. A mace struck him on his helmet with such force that he fell over, sinking another into the pool. The 5 remaining drew their weapons and began attacking the shadow. The figure was faster. He jumped and smashed the armor with massive force. While the Ortson felt dazed, the cloaked stranger took a sword and jammed it in his neck. He knocked the helmet off the next one with the mace and pushed him into the pool. The Adrella below did not even have to fight the Ortsons, for they sunk with their heavy armor deep into the sea. The fairy in the bottle was released and returned to the ship. 8 Ortsons down. Somebody was pushing them to us. We need to unblock the entrances. That'll take too long. There was smoke coming out of some places. We need to see if the Josepharians can get in through those. Even just one tunnel would work if we can't use those openings. They will hear us coming. That beats the point of surprise. That's how we can flush them out. We can wait for the other wizards to show. They are much stronger than us. That'll take too long. They're already on a mission. If I was an Ortson, I'd trap the wizards in a cave. Me too. If we go in to fight, we may be trapped as well. We'll need our fairy, but we may also lose our fairy. If they can make a trap, so can we. We send feathers to keep above the entrance. They can net them when they come out. What if our guys come out with their guys? We have to try. Inside of the cave, the hours passed, and their leader had not returned. They sent 2 others to find him. They came back and reported that they were missing, and there were bodies on the shore, but no army in sight. What will we do? We wait for them to come to us. Out of the clear sky, a voice spoke softly. Horses. Everyone looked at each other. It was heard inside the cave as well as out on the ship. The trapped crew began to speak noisily to each other. Silence! An Ortson raged, clanging his swords against the bars. Horses? Jin whispered. The winged horses, Ayumi whispered in return. The Ortsons fed the prisoners and prepared to sleep for the night. They kept a guard at the entrance. Kai hoped that this would be the night that his crewmates would enter the cave and release them. There would be no better time. Ortson slept without armor, and they could easily be outnumbered. As if his thoughts were heard, there was a large crash down the hall, and the guards immediately drew their weapons and followed the sound. Kai pulled out a silver rod and began to work on the first of 2 locks. While he did this, he silently chanted to break the spell the Ortsons had placed on it. He had a bit more knowledge in locks than they did. He broke the spell first, then popped the first lock. He began working on the next one. Jin quietly tapped Kai's shoulder and pointed to the corridor. In came not his crewmates, but a masked man wearing a cloak. He moved fast and silently. He took down all of the Ortsons with a mace and quickly unlocked their prison. They all came out of the cells. They armed themselves with whatever weapon they could find. Before Kai could question the stranger of the shadows, he raced back down the hall. Kai could have sworn he had seen a key around the stranger's neck, but he also felt the stranger had entered his mind. For what, he did not know, but he felt influenced, dipped on. Upon the shore ship of the mountains, they began hollering at each other. A rush of men and women came flooding out of the cave. The feathers dropped the net on them before they realized there were no Ortsons among them. They were released and made their way back to the ship. What happened in there? Sure wasn't you guys. How long were you going to wait? We didn't want to get trapped too. You didn't send for the others, did you? We may have later if our attempts failed. What attempts? Jin commented. Any news from the others? We've been getting messages. The first one says he knows, and the second was horses. What do you make of it? It could mean many things, but it's not understandable being so vague. After each ship has looked over the land, we are to unite with the others under Josephera. How did you defeat the Ortsons? You could have come in and gave it a shot, Jin cackled. Some of them we do not know. A man or woman wrapped in black cloth defeated the Ortsons. Their identity and purpose is unknown. Whoever it is, they have mind powers, and before I could catch up to him, he was gone. Did you see this person come out of here? Nay, you all came out at once. Do you think it's Duran? He wouldn't set us free. What good would that do? Whoever it is, I don't think they're against us, but I also think they weren't assigned to this mission. Like a vigilante? Yes, like a vigilante. Where did he go? He had a key, and I think he wanted me to forget he had it. A key! The fairy exclaimed. The key to the back entrance. Back entrance, are you sure? We never found a passage that would lead us to the back of the mountains. We could have missed it. If there's a door, and if he has the key, we should send some Josepherians to check it out and wait for the shadowed one. Cheyenne could be in there. Our mission is not complete. If we can't catch him, how the heck are we going to get the key that gets into the cave? I don't know, but we must try. Send some to go back into the cave and explore it again. I need the feathers to take me behind the mountains to see if I can pick the lock. That's the only choice I have. A few hours passed, and at dusk they came back to the ship. The cave searchers came back with nothing. Kai and the feathers came back last. They carried a large net of various armor. Nice things at that. The door was open. He left it open. We took the armor. Strange stuff, too. Stolen treasures? I'm not sure. What if they come back for that and suddenly they don't like us anymore? They wouldn't leave it open then. He or she wanted us to know that the tri-breed is or is no longer there. We saw no ships, no boats anywhere. He has to be a Josepherian to beat us there. We must now sail back to meet the others.